If there's one thing you don't mess with, it's people's money that are unionized. 900 teachers and district staff members, which represented about 1/3 of the overall union, reported significant issues and payroll errors with this implementation of the new system at the beginning of the school year. So what happened? As a reminder, we unpack these implementations not to shit on the business, the district, the schools, the consultants, any of that, but to take these issues that come from a complex migration and be able to forward think them for our own implementations or software strategies. Syracuse City School District is one of the largest districts in upstate New York. It has around 4,000 employees, about 20,000 students, and runs around $650 million in annual revenue, with over $500 million, much to Oracle, in operating expenses. This migration specifically was for the payroll piece of their Oracle Cloud environment. It wanted to switch from its dinosaur on-prem PeopleSoft system to Oracle's financial and HR suite. The payroll modules launched in July of 2025, and almost immediately staff saw some pretty significant errors in missing paychecks, incorrect deductions, or underpayments. Huge issues, right? So the core issue here is around the migration, or the legacy data from PeopleSoft and the other duct tape systems that were holding this payroll system together by hopes and dreams were not appropriately mapped into Oracle Cloud Suite. We had incorrect employee records, wrong pay rates, deduction mismatches, couldn't accrue for leave, all of the issues. And then there came the configuration issue. Payroll business rules, overtime, lead, deduction formulas were not correctly configured for the new system. On top of that, we had not only migration, configuration, but also new business processes when it came to things like time card. This stems from the integration of the time card and HR systems. I see this happen all the time in public sector or school districts where we make a massive leap from on paper manual entries of your time card to an online Oracle module. The staff struggled with that, rightfully so. That happens all the time when businesses want to modernize. It's like, okay, well, we have to bring the employees along with us so they're very clear on how they can not only interact with this new interface, but how they can report issues and ask questions, which comes down to training. Anytime I see a situation like this, I automatically know that there was inadequate testing. Because you're catching so many bugs now in Go Live, that shows that you didn't do enough scenario testing to make sure that something as critical of a function of actually paying your employees broke after Go Live. Now let's go into the outside support, which they always blame the consultants and Oracle. Let's kind of break that down because I think a lot of people don't really understand the role that plays, right? They can understand the technical features that break. That's clear, right? But there's kind of a gray area in whose fault it is. Because I've been involved in expert witness cases, we've been able to see kind of the front row to how this relationship deteriorates and then we get ghosted and a system dropped on us that we paid a ton of money for, millions, right? That we can't fix. When things started to go wrong, the school district said that their consultancies that were responsible for helping with this migration and Oracle were very slow to respond. They also cited that the remote work that these types of consultants were doing were not helping. And I can't stress this enough, especially if you're a school district, you need someone that is going to be on site with you, right? To be able to go through this, not someone that's 3 hours behind you in a time zone that you're not able to get on the phone. According to public data, which is all I have, right? We had 2 consultancies involved in supporting this in conjunction with Oracle. We had Street Consulting, which is based out of California, and then we also had Barry Dunn, which is a very well-known IT support firm in the public sector. Think of it like Big Four, but just for the public sector. Kind of like Tyler Technologies. They can do whatever they want and don't really care. And that's a big piece of what I normally see with Barry Dunn is the same sort of big consultancy attitude. I know nothing about Street Consulting. I can only get what I have through public data. If you guys know, of course, let me know in the comments and we can bring more light to that conversation. So Barry Dunn was paid $2 million for their work on this project, and Street Consulting was paid $8.8 million. Those numbers are important so that we can know the actual amount these consultancies were getting paid to support what they were providing in value. So the union leaders and the school district staff came together to file grievances against Barry Dunn and Street Consulting to say that they were too slow to escalate these issues. And again, they cited that there was a lot of remote work being done, and the only reason I really harp on that is because that's just not a good idea. If you're interviewing a consulting firm for this type of $11 million implementation, you need to ask them how often they'll be on site, what their escalation path is, so you can really drill down in that. Obviously, I don't know what happened in there. It's always very easy to blame the consultants, but if they're not on site, that's unacceptable. So now the fact that the school board publicly apologized and the leadership of the union came out, publicly blamed Oracle and these consulting firms, you know that relationship completely deteriorated. Because if you are in a situation where you're in a big fight with Oracle, usually they're going to come sue you first and then slap you with NDAs to say, don't ever tell anyone about this. You can't talk about this in any way, shape, or form to try and save face. Now, In this issue, it shows you how bad it truly got with these relationships if they were going in a public forum and blaming these people for their issues or the system for their issues. We had the public embarrassment, and then we also had an organizational crisis where the labor unions really lost trust in the district to do something as critical as pay them. And then we have the fact that this is a public sector organization, right? It is funded by American taxpayers, New York taxpayers, Syracuse taxpayers, right? They have lost or misappropriated $11 million. They don't have any plan to move forward. They might have a plan privately, but it either needs to be abandoned, redone. That money is spent. It's gone. So most importantly, what can we as a business community learn from this? The first thing is data mapping and testing, right? You have to be absolutely sure these functions are going to work in real time, especially something as critical as payroll. Do not rush through testing. Even if your consultancy wants you to, you have to take your time and really map out every single scenario. Secondly, I see this happen all the time. Even technically sound systems will fail if you do not have user adoption strategies or buy-in, especially in something as complex as a school district. If you have an outside third party like a unionized labor organization, engage them early in the process so they can actually be an asset instead of a hindrance. I preach this all the time, but I'm going to say it again. In your vendor and outside consultancy contracts, what's the escalation plan? What is their accountability if you don't hit your milestone? They need to be there supporting you through every issue, especially when things go bad.